Namaskar. Welcome to this webinar. Today is the last class on this course, the Ultimate Obstacle course. We had four other ones. This is the number 5. So namaskar and welcome. I just want to remind you that you can communicate with me through the chat window. You can type questions and comments, whatever. And just a short review. The only point I have for the review is this one. Obstacles are the helping forces that establish one in the goal. We've been talking about obstacles, and we have seen that, in fact, obstacles are our friends and they help us to move ahead. They keep us focused. They develop our strength. They make us better people. And it is the nature of life that we'll be facing obstacles, overcoming them, and moving forward. And obstacles can be physical, psychophysical, psychospiritual, spiritual obstacles. So for this part 5, or the conclusion, when we face obstacles, what we can do? So I start with a question to you. When facing obstacles, what is the best attitude? So let me launch the question here. There we go. And I have put 5 options there. So let's see, what do you think? Should we avoid it or delay it as much as possible? Should we contemplate deeply to find solutions? So should we surrender and ask God to solve it for us as soon as possible? Should we complain why God is sending so many obstacles? Or blame someone for it and tell them they have to solve it? Okay, I give a few more minutes until everybody can answer. Okay, we are almost there. All right, so let me see what you sharing the results. So we get unanimous here that we should contemplate deeply to find solutions. I agree, and but we see all the other options many times. When some obstacle is there, people just try to avoid it anyway, and then they try to delay it, and but it doesn't work. Some people immediately oh God, please help me, I can't do anything. Other people complain, and other people try to blame, oh, it is because you did like this, that's why it is happening. And it's common that we see these kind of situations in our day-to-day life, and maybe we have done like that in the past also. So the topic of today is more on when we have an obstacle, what can we do to solve it? So one of the points is we need to develop wisdom. Wisdom is not just knowledge. Wisdom is that capacity to know what is permanent and we really should strive for, and what is temporary. So let's say material things versus spiritual things, or limited things versus infinite things. And limited versus infinite one. Prayer means the pursuit of worldly pleasure, and Shreya, the pursuit of spirituality. So now, when we are facing a certain situation in our life, of course, we have to be practical. Suppose somebody is facing a certain situation at home with the family. So one has to be practical in analyzing that problem and doing one's best to solve it, or a situation at work, some decision to be taken. All that is important, and we have to be as practical as possible, seeing the situation in front of us. But at the same time, our perspective should not be limited. Our perspective should not be limited to just the material situation in front of us. We have to analyze it from a broader perspective. What is the meaning of that situation in my spiritual life? What am I to learn from that situation? And how should I move forward? Taking in consideration that my goal is spiritual. So I need a spiritual insight on the problem so that it helps me to solve it in the best way. And usually, a spiritual insight will help us to solve it in a way that it's better for everyone involved. Usually, if we take a materialistic standpoint, it is a more selfish point of view. And approaching a situation with a more selfish point of view may not solve the problem, may create more problem, because every situation, there are different beings, different elements involved. Now, if we can see the best for everyone, that situation can solve. But if we only see the best for us, it is more difficult to solve the situation. So developing wisdom, or developing the capacity to see situations from a spiritual point of view, from a, let's say, a broader point of view, helps in any problem that we face in our life. Otherwise, it is very difficult or to solve the problem. Not only that, it is at the same time easy for us to take a negative attitude, fatalist attitude. Okay. So point number one, develop wisdom. Point number two, do sadhana, do spiritual practice, meditate, concentrate on the Supreme, because the universe flows according to the thought waves of the Supreme, the cosmic thought waves. The more we can tune our mind to those cosmic thought waves, the easier it will be to flow with those thought waves, to flow with how that situation has to evolve, so that everyone everyone that is touched by that situation gets benefit. One important point is, when you do this sadhana, when you meditate, you concentrate on the Supreme, not on the obstacle. You are not doing your practice, you are not doing your sadhana, you are not doing your meditation, concentrating on the problem to solve the problem. That's a very slow way. If we meditate trying to solve one problem, then another problem, then another problem, it will be a very slow development. If we just meditate on the Supreme, then multiple problems can get solved simultaneously. A few kind of hints or some pieces of advice. If you do early morning sadhana, Panchajanya, it's a 5 a.m. meditation. It helps your day to flow in a harmonious way. It means things will move in a more harmonious way. You will kind of be in a better control of the situation. You will understand what's going on. If you cannot wake up so early, at least wake up early enough that you can do enough meditation, get grounded, get ready for the day. That's one advice. Another one is, if you have a difficult decision to make, do sadhana meditation late at night, let's say at midnight. It will help clear the mind so that the right decision comes. So these two, of course, if you do both, it makes your sleep very much reduced and you may be too tired during the day. So according to the situation, maybe you can choose one or choose another one. Okay. Let's see. So point number 1, develop wisdom. Point number 2, do sadhana. It is important to develop spiritual force. You know, physical force, maybe a person is very strong physically, maybe we can face 10 other people. Psychically, if you are very strong psychically, maybe you can face 100 people. But if you are very strong spiritually, then you have an infinite reservoir of force. So you can do a lot. You can do a lot of good. Psychic energy depends on that spiritual force. It depends on moral force. So if we practice certain principles in our life, if we live in a certain way, if we make us strong by sadhana, that spiritual force will develop. Remember, spiritual force remains in a dormant form in every individual. It is there for us to access it. So, how to access it? Practice. It's the same way you do physical exercise to become physically strong. You do spiritual exercise to become spiritually strong. So, regular practice. That is, I think, the basic point is spiritual practice. Doing spiritual practice regularly without interruptions means persevere even when things go bad, everything is difficult, health is a problem, time is a problem. Still, do your spiritual force, spiritual practice in the best way you can. And that will give you enough spiritual strength. And the other point, keep the goal fixed. The goal is spiritual. So in the end, that's what matters. So many things can happen in our daily life. There will be good times, bad times, problems, peaceful times, enjoyable times, more problems. So it will all come and go. But if we keep our mind on that flow, on that ups and downs, we will not have a good life. But if we keep our goal fixed on our spiritual, we keep the mind fixed on our spiritual goal, then everything will be in a kind of stable situation. Sadhana will help us to have a constant awareness of the goal. It's like you are reminding yourself every day, twice a day, that what is the real goal? That will give a certain inner strength that when you face the situations in the day-to-day life, you will be able to solve them. You will be able to pause, contemplate deeply, find solutions, move ahead. And this is a persistent endeavor. Means it's a constant endeavor. Your sadhana is not that you will just sit there and enjoy very nice meditation. It might happen, but don't do it with that expectation. Just remember that when you are doing sadhana, is the moment of training, of practice. It means it requires some effort, some energy. You are putting energy into it, but then you will enjoy the benefits of it. So spiritual strength is what we are looking for. And where does it come from? It comes from consciousness. Spiritual strength comes from consciousness, comes from the soul, from Atman. We need to open that channel. So how to open that channel? Again, going within. So in meditation, we have to go deeper and deeper and deeper to connect with our soul. If we can do that, then our spiritual strength starts flowing, because it's already there. We just have to connect to it. It's just like you need to open the tap. You need to create the connection so that there is a flow. How to do that? The basic is a very difficult practice, but which is like presented in a way that it's at the same time important but simple. Is the practice of Dhyama and Niyama. These, let's say, 5 practices of Dhyama that you can see in the figure. Let's start from Ahimsa, non-harming. So if you are taking a decision, you have to think, is my decision going to harm anyone, any being? Number 2, Satya, benevolent truth. Is my decision going to bring benevolence? Is it truthful? It doesn't mean that it's just the truth. It means that it has to be truthful and benevolent. The simple truth sometimes is not benevolent. It may bring more problems. So it's important that there is benevolence and there is truth. So that's another point. And then Asteya. In my decision and my taking anything from anyone else, am I preventing anybody from having their right? Then Brahmacharya. Oneness with the Supreme. In this decision, am I taking spiritual ideation? Before taking a decision, am I thinking that everything is an expression of the Supreme. I am an expression of the Supreme. The situation also, everyone involved, all objects involved. So applying this spiritual ideation to that decision. And number 4, aparigraha, non-accumulation. Is this decision making my life simple? Am I going to just accumulate extra things by taking this decision? So these are 5 principles to apply when you are taking a decision. And that applies to everything that's external to that situation. And then another point is niyama. Niyama is now the internal part. So I'm gonna think, is my decision according to the principles or to the practices of niyama, starting from shaucha, cleanliness. When I'm taking this decision, is my mind pure? Or is my mind being influenced by jealousy, hatred, or any other of sentiment in that way? Is my decision bringing, let's say, an external cleanliness, external purity? Then santosha, contentment. When I'm taking this decision, is my mind in a state of contentment, or is my mind in a bad state? If the mind is not in a state of contentment, make an effort to bring your mind to that state before you take a decision. Otherwise, it might not be the best decision. Usually, best decisions we take when we are inspired, and worst decisions we take when we are not inspired. Number 3, tapa, or sacrifice. Is this decision that I'm taking, does it require some sacrifice from me, or does it require sacrifice from others? Now, excuse me, this point of tapa or sacrifice or effort, usually if we want to accomplish something, we have to put a part of us in it. If we are not putting it, it means we are not going to accomplish the right thing. So we have to put a part of us in it. So a certain personal sacrifice is necessary. Another point, swadhyaya, to study and understand spiritual texts, scriptures. Now, can I take some inspiration from any spiritual writings that will help me with this decision? And the last point is Shwara Pranidhana, meditation. Go deep within you to your inner self before you take a decision, especially if it's something very important in your life. And when you do that meditation, you are not thinking about the problem or the situation. You just want to go deeper and deeper within to touch that Supreme that is within. And then you take the decision. So here, practical application of Jama and Yama. So you have a decision in front of you. If you apply all these principles to that decision and it passes your test, then take it. Whatever consequences will come, you will never have control. We have control over our actions, but not of the consequences of the action. But if we are applying all these principles to that situation, surely we will take a good decision. And then we will have, of course, to live with the consequences of the decision. Okay, I have one question here. Can you give an example of benevolent truth? Okay, we understand truth. Suppose I meet somebody and I give the bad news. Oh, you know, your daughter died. So that's the truth. But maybe by telling that, that person will feel so bad, maybe have a heart attack or something. So the truth is good sometimes and sometimes not. Now, benevolence means we want to benefit that person by the words we are going to say. So we have to say words that will benefit the person. Now, we meet somebody, so we may say words that encourage that person to progress in their life. Suppose one person is very lazy, and I will just tell, hey, you are a very lazy person. Or suppose I can talk to that person in a way to inspire that person to change. So I will not touch the point, means the truth is I should tell you are a very lazy person. But what I will tell is, why don't you do like this? Or have you seen this example? Or I can tell an inspiring story in order to take that person from the situation the person is into a better situation. That's benevolence. If I just want to tell the truth to the person, that's just truth. But if I want to tell something that will make that person better. So every day in our life, we have the opportunity. Whenever we talk to somebody, we have the opportunity to tell that person something that will be inspiring, that will make that person better. Or we also have the opportunity to tell the truth to that person, you are like this, you are like that. Sometimes that truth is good, sometimes not. So that's the point. Okay, so back to the Jama and Yama. So Jama and Yama can be a very systematic way that you analyze a certain decision that you are going to take it. And you can get more and more practice in it. And just remember that Jama and Yama is something dynamic. It's not something that is very fixed. It means you have to every time think how to apply that point. So it's not something like in this situation you do like this situation do like that. It's not like that. It's a very dynamic thing that changes all the time. Okay, so I move ahead. Oh, I have another question here. Does going deep inside means inner stillness? It may. Depends how we are at that moment. We may be able to do it or we may not be able to reach. But going deep inside means you will connect. If you go deeper and deeper, you will connect with that supreme cosmic flow. And that flow will give you joy and will make you right to take a decision. Okay, moving ahead. So consciousness is the goal. Consciousness is beyond mind. So there is physical, there is mental, and there is spiritual. So body, mind, soul. Consciousness is the realm of soul. So we have to make it our goal. The goal is to reach consciousness. And that's the most important thing. So whatever happens, you have to take your time to do your meditation. You may have pressing things, so much to do, but still, if you don't practice the meditation because you have so many other things to do, maybe the other things will not even get done. But maybe if you take those 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes to practice, to connect with consciousness, then everything else flows quicker, easier. So that's the goal, the priority is, it's like a fixed appointment you have during the day that we have to do that. Maybe sometimes a little bit less, a little bit more according to situations. Some flexibility is needed, but that's priority. And okay, you applied all the points of Yamaniyama, you are acquiring wisdom, you are doing your sadhana, but still you are facing such a problem. You did everything you could. So in the end, surrender. So when everything seems to be lost, you have always to remember that nothing happens without the will of the Supreme Being. So everything is going according to his flow. He is thinking the whole thing. He is creating that situation. So at that point, you have to let him guide you. And that is, oh Lord, do whatever you think fit and best for me. I do not know in which way lies my good. You know. By Sri Sri Anandamurti. So that is kind of the culminating point. And all the rest is the preparation. You know, with Jamaniyama, you are preparing so that you can really connect with the flow of the Supreme, and then you can be guided. You cannot just take a shortcut and immediately, oh no, I cannot manage this. Oh, please, God, help me solve this problem. The way the universe functions, the way everything is functioning, everything is the flow of the Supreme. Now, to enter in this flow, to be able to enter in this flow, to prepare our mind so that it goes with this flow, that preparation is very important. So now if we are in that flow, then you let the flow guide you. You let that Supreme guide you. And then you will be guided in the right direction. Okay. And this is the process of Tantra. We are practicing, we are raising our Kula Kundalini, which is the spiritual awareness in ourselves. The symptoms that our Kula Kundalini is raising is how close we feel with that Supreme Entity, with that Supreme Flow. So that is the measurement. It's not about what sensations I'm having, what symptoms I'm having. No, it's how in your day-to-day life, you feel connected with that supreme flow, connected with that supreme being. And how your propensities are more under control. You are not anymore guided by hatred, fear, and attachment, and the thirst for something, but you are more guided by that inner peace, that inner harmony. And your obstacles will just be passing. You'll be overcoming them. That's the process of Tantra. And I'm already coming to a summary for today. So go on preparing points that you would like to discuss further. In this figure, I tried to bring everything together as a conclusion. The first point is your capacity is always more than the difficulties. If we have that point clear in our mind, we'll never give up. You know, sometimes we analyze the situation and we don't see a solution and we give up too soon. And one story that I like to illustrate that point is a story of two frogs that came jumping and fell in a container full of milk. And the container had a kind of higher walls. So the frogs fell inside and they thought, whoa, we must get out of here. And they tried jumping as much as they could a few times and they couldn't get out. So one of them thought, oh, now that I am not tired and I still have strength, I'm trying to jump out and I'm not able to do it. So there is no sense, there is no use, I will never be able to come out. Gave up, died. The other frog thought, no, as long as I have some strength, as long as I can move, I will try to jump out. And in all that movement, that milk solidified, became churned, and the frog with more dense surface was able to jump out. So that frog did its part. Try to jump, 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 jump. Other circumstances developed without the knowledge of that frog. And those circumstances helped it to come out. The frog could never imagine that such a thing could happen, but something happened, situation was changed, it was able to overcome the difficulty. So in the same way in our lives, sometimes we look at something and we say, oh no, I can never manage that. But you don't know what can happen as you are doing your best to manage the situation. As you put all your capacity, all your energy, and applying whatever I have talked about today, then situation will develop in such a way that you'll be able to overcome that. But just keep in mind that the point may be just that point when you are almost giving up, that you are feeling, oh, maybe I really can't manage. Then solution may come. So it means that just don't give up. Just keep going. So that capacity, our capacity, always greater than the difficulties. Preparation point. Look for more wisdom, develop more wisdom by increasing the knowledge, spiritual knowledge, reading, seeing experiences of other spiritual people, their lives, what happened in their lives, how they overcame situations, growing your wisdom. That's very important. Other point, grow your spiritual force by being strong in moral principles, by being strong in sadhana, by doing all you can to help the humanity. That will strengthen spiritual force. And more specific still, do more sadhana. Reserve time for sadhana in your life. The same way you have time to sleep, you have time to eat, time for sadhana. Very important to keep enough time for sadhana. And remember that sadhana is not only the meditation. There are many other aspects around it. Simple things like what you eat, where you eat, who cooks your food, how it is prepared. All that is important. How you maintain your space clean and organized. How you maintain yourself clean. That's also very important. So all these are accessories to sadhana, but they are very important accessories. Always concentrate on the Supreme and not on the obstacles that you have. That's like a key point in solving any obstacle. When you meditate, when you go deep within, concentrate on the Supreme. The solution to the obstacle will come as a consequence. It is not the goal. The obstacle is there to bring you closer to the Supreme. Just think that, oh, this problem has come in my life. Why? It has come because it will bring you closer to the Supreme. So you have to go deep in your meditation and contemplate on how to overcome that situation. And the last but not the least, in the end, it is that Supreme Entity that knows what is the best for us. And it's not up to us to be asking, I want this, I want that, do in this way, do in that way. Because our thinking capacity is so limited, we may be asking the wrong thing. So this surrender, very important. So in this figure is like the conclusion of the course. Our capacity is always more than our difficulties, and our effort is to develop wisdom, develop spiritual force, do more sadhana. Always concentrate on the Supreme, not on the obstacles, and always surrender. Understand that He knows best what we need. And now, your questions. Few minutes for your questions. You can type the questions in the chat window. I replied already all the questions that were put during the presentation. So now you have to put the new ones. Okay, I have some questions that were asked to me. So let me put this. One of you has sent me these questions. The first question is, why there is so much suffering? I will just say a few words about that. suffering is always relative. If something happens to me and I feel, oh, I'm suffering so much, maybe, yes, maybe I'm having some pain and like this, but I don't know if that is bad for me or good for me, because it may be that that situation brings me a lot of good. So that suffering was just like a preparation for something better. Another part of the question, do we suffer because of our samskaras? Actually, we suffer because of the attitude that we take in the moment that a situation is happening. So a certain situation is happening in my life. Depending on the attitude that I take, then I suffer. But of course, many times the situation is happening because of samskaras. Next, what about Maya? So what about avidya Maya, the force that's taking me away from the Supreme? It is there, but it doesn't mean that it can take me away from the Supreme. It is always trying to do it. It's like you want to do meditation and somebody say, oh, come and eat. I have nice and warm food. You can do your meditation later. So such situations will always be in your life. And these are kind of small tests, small situations to test your will force and to increase your will force. Another part of the question, what about grief? What about suicide? It happens, human beings come through those situations, but we are also spiritual people. Now, if we can base our life on a spiritual standpoint, then grief and suicide will not be able to affect us, but it does affect people. So how to do? We can do our best to help those people. We can do our best to inspire those people to do some spiritual practice. They can overcome grief. They can overcome the desire for suicide. A few questions I'm getting here. What about people who have psychic ailments? It could be because of certain samskaras, then we have psychic ailments. We have to go through that. So maybe that's the best for those people at that moment. But we still have some, let's say, duty to do our best to help those people. And should we confront our samskaras? The thing is, the samskaras will come by themselves. They will always come. And we don't know the situations are come, it's because of our samskaras not. But we always have to face the situations that come in our life based on what we have looked or studied in this course. If we can use those principles, and you may have some extra principles that you use all that your capacity to overcome those situations which may be caused by your samskaras. And the last question I have here, it appears that only those who know about tantric spiritual practice can overcome these troubles. Is that true? It's not like that. People will be overcoming situations, everyone, but the point is, if you have a systematic way of doing it, then you have more probability of success. So that's the thing. Like, suppose you want to repair a car and you have the right tools. That means you have more possibility that you'll be successful. If you have the wrong tools, it will be more difficult. So having tantric spiritual practices is having the right tools, but you still have to use them. and you have to learn how to use them well. So that still remains. Okay, so I think I'm coming to the end. I hope to keep in contact with all of you. We do have our webpage, the pathofbliss.com. I have my webpage, dadas.info. We have a group on Facebook, Path Bliss, and we have a page, POB Meditation. From these, on the webpage, pathofbliss.com, most events are there. And also on the Facebook page, POB Meditation, we make an effort to put all our events there. And thank you very much for participating in this webinar. You will get evaluation the moment we close, if you can reply the questions. Thank you very much. Namaskar. And all the best. And go on overcoming obstacles.